the result tomorrow? Is the Bihar election in the NDA's bag? All the exit polls seem to think so. Not one has predicted a loss. At least pollsters who operate at the national level have not predicted a loss. Even the Satta Bazaar is rooting for the NDA. One poll has, however, said, two polls, however, said that it could be a near thing and that a few X factors are at play. Here's what the pollsters mean. Prashant Kishor, Jan Swaraj polls 2% more than what the two other polls, which are the Axis poll and the voter vibe poll, have suggested he'd get about 4 to 5%. But if he gets more than that, it's going to be problematic for the NDA. Amongst the youth, women between 18 and 29 vote as a bloc for MGB. If that happens, problem. Mukesh Sahani's Nishad, Mala and Kevat Kas and Indrajit Prasad Gupta, Tanti, Tantwa and Pan Kas vote for the MGB. That could also lead to a change. Let's put this to test. Amitabh Tiwari, founder of Vote Vibe, and Pradeep Gupta, chairman and managing director of Access My India, are with us. Let me first begin with you, Pradeep ji. Pradeep ji, what happens if women voters vote just like they did last time in 2020 and the gap was just 1% in favor of NDA despite a higher voter turnout? What would happen?
ऐसे नहीं है. पिछली बार भी गैप दोनों के 37% आए थे, क्लोज कॉन्टेस्ट था. इस बार भी 2% का गैप हमारे उसमें दिया गया है. बट इसमें देखने वाली बात ये होती है कि जो महागठबंधन का वोट शेयर होता है सीमांचल में, हम सबको पता है मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन इज इन दी एक्सीडिंग ऑफ 50%. तो जो बड़े नंबर्स आते हैं परसेंटेज के लिहाज से एंड गठबंधन के लिए, उसके वजह से आप वोटर के परसेंटेज में देख पाते हैं. बट सीटों के लिहाज की बात करें तो वैसा नहीं होता है. हाँ, लेकिन एक बात जरूर है, इस बार जो ये 10% वोट का इंक्रीज हुआ है, 6% तो ठीक है, समझ सकते हैं कि वोटर प्यूरिफिकेशन प्रोसेस के चलते हुआ है, SIR के चलते हुआ है. 48 lakhs has 20 lakhs has been diseased and about 28 lakhs is permanently migrated. That contributes 6%, but that is despite of that 4% incremental in voter turnout from 57 last time to 67 this time is something interesting to be seen. Those 4% incremental, what is the combination of them? The age group, the demography, complete demography, age, caste combination, male, female, etc., etc. This is something happened the first time historically, and the emergence of new party of Prashant Kishor. These are the two things which had never been there in the Bihar election, in the process. So this is something one has to look for.
Okay, one has to look for that. Okay, would you like to take that same question, Amitabh ji?
So in investment banking parlance, or whenever we used to give the market price forecast for any share, we use the term risk factors, correct? So these X factors, I will like to call it as risk factors to whatever projections Vote Vibe or any other agency has made. And one of the very valid points you've made is that what happens if the alpha or if the advantage which everybody is showing with respect to the woman voter for the NDA, if that gap reduces, then what happens? Yes. So this is one of the risk factor to the projections made by Vote Vibe or any other agency, that if the gap between the women support for NDA and Mahagathbandhan is not huge, when I say not huge, is just 1 or 2%, just like it was in 2020, then it can become tricky for the NDA, because as per Vote Vibe survey, around 5% vote share lead to the NDA is coming just from the female support, because amongst males, the Mahagathbandhan enjoys a 2% vote share lead.
Okay. My second question, Pradeep ji, are the parties like the VIP party and the IIP party that are allies of RJD being under-assessed because they are catered to by the most backward castes, the ECBs, who tend to be quite silent voters? Pradeep ji.
No, no, see, I'll tell you, Rahul, that VIP party and particularly the belonging is the Malla community, which represent about 4% in total. See, in our poll, they are likely to poll less than NDA. Even if they are at par, is not going to make much of a difference. You're getting my point because the total share number is only 4% points. So even if one get two and another get two, or it can be three, the one side, the one the other side, is not going to make a much
Okay.
of a difference in that sense.
Okay, so you don't think. Amitabh ji, on that question, what do you believe?
No, see, largely, if you see, I mean, this time in our vote wipe survey, we are giving almost 42% vote share to the Mahagathbandhan. So that is almost 3.5% higher than what the Mahagathbandhan received in 2020, even after adjusting for the VIP, because VIP had almost 1.5-2% vote. So that is almost 4% actually higher than what the Mahagathbandhan received in 2020 Vidhan Sabha elections. And the Malla community and the Pan Samaj, to which the IIP largely caters to, is largely 2.5, 3%, 3.5% of the entire population of Bihar. So I think these smaller parties largely have been accounted for, because what happens in EBCs is that the Malla community or the Pan community, the IIP party, is not the leader of the EBC community. In EBC, there are 112 subcaste groups. Only 5 groups are more than 2% of population. So, due to the fact that the Pan Samaj or the Malla Samaj is not the leader of the EBC community, the other EBC communities may not necessarily veer towards the Mahagathbandhan just because Mukesh Sahni has been announced as Deputy CM. This will largely be restricted to the Malla community. Also, what is happening is that the Malla community also is considered to be an aggressive community by certain sections of the EBC. So that is also leading to some sort of a counter consolidation, you can say, amongst the lower EBCs, and EBCs largely continue to back the JDU and the BJP led alliance, because it is the only alliance which actually is projecting a non-Yadav OBC or a EBC CM face.
Okay, so now the main question. Pradeep ji, the Kishor factor, the Prashant Kishor factor, what is the pain threshold for the NDA?
See, Prashant Kishor in our poll is likely to secure his party 4% vote share, and large number of this 4% coming from the NDA fold, and that to the upper caste, the Bhumiyars, the Rajput, the Brahmins. This is the larger section of this chunk out of this 4% point is coming from the NDA, and the much lower percent, which is about a 1% coming from the other side. So if Prashant Kishor start doing good, when I say good, I am referring to he exceed the 6 percentage points, then our lower range should hold good. And if Prashant Kishor secure less than 4% vote, and let's say the 2% only, then it will be 160 plus for the NDA.
Okay, so Amitabh Tiwari, what do you make of this? It's not as if Prashant Kishor is only given one caste, etc., tickets. He's given them pretty much all across. So, what is the pain threshold? What do you think?
We have projected a 5% vote share for Jan Suraj party. In 2020 Vidhan Sabha elections, there are 83 seats where the victory margin is less than equal to 5%.
Right.
37 were won by the NDA and 38 by the Mahagathbandhan, almost 8 by others. Now, if the Jansuraj polls anything above 5%, what happens is that these 83 seats or the 52 seats where the victory margin was less than 5,000 come into the picture. The Jansuraj tactically has placed 92 upper caste and Baniya community candidates and 52 Muslim Yadav candidates. So the damage which Jansuraj is likely to do is to both the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan, And on a net basis, it could be more to the NDA, largely because of the aspirational class voter and the middle class voter, apart from the poor voters, which it largely appeals to. So I would say anything above 5% actually could disturb the calculations of either of the alliances, because then it could play the role of a spoiler on these 83 seats, or even if we consider
Okay.
52 seats.
So-
And then the role of Jansuraj would come into play in deciding who ultimately wins that seat.
Okay, so the two gentlemen, the two pollsters have given us something to ponder. And there are two basic indices we have to look at tomorrow and track them. Number one, which way are the women voters going to go? And secondly, viewers, the impact of Jan Swaraj. If it begins to cross 5% and so forth, then every percent over that becomes problematic for the NDA. At least that's what they believe. I'll leave it at this, viewers. Join us in 8 hours. We'll be live with wall-to-wall coverage, the fastest results, the most accurate results, viewers, verified results, so you have the hard facts. I'll leave it at this. Thank you.